Good morning.
Good morning.
Angel. Good morning, Tankan. Today we are going to talk about a topic which is a little different. It is about learning. Okay. See, we all learn in our lives, right? I mean, a child learns from the day the child is born till the day all along its life. The child learns, right? We all are been children and we've been learning. Now, but what is interesting is as we grow up in life, the whole learning process becomes a little, sometimes a little complex for us, a little difficult for us because we have our priorities. We say that we have got work to do, we've got our careers, we've got our jobs, and I am not really able to learn the way I always used to learn earlier. So, and there are areas where we say it's too complex, so I'm not able to understand how to go about doing things. So, learning to learn is an interesting part. Now, what I'm talking about, I'm not really talking about learning here, I'm talking about learning to learn. How do I go about this learning process? Is there an art or a science to learn? What should I learn more? What should I learn less, maybe, because I have only limited time in hand, right? So these are aspects which are very intriguing. And if you see what differentiates people one from the other in terms of how a person is more successful, more happy, more fun-loving, and between a person who's not so much, is again the aspect of learning which we don't understand. There are people who learn how to be happier in life. They learn and then they do the same thing. They actionalize it, and they learn how to manage their own time. They learn how to manage their own self. So these are aspects which are very important as far as learning is concerned, right? As much as what is your area of specialization, or where are you a specialist or a generalist in terms of wherever you work. Now, before going into all that, now I'm going to ask you something. I'm going to tell you a small story. Okay. Now, many years back, maybe around 10 or 12 years back, I was just sitting at home and I was watching a serial coming up. I never used to watch that serial regularly, but that day it was coming up on TV and I saw. And there was this person who was asking for a ransom of 300 crore rupees. Okay. So I'm talking about 2004-05, and what was the highest denomination of note available in those days? 1000 rupees. Okay. So 1000 rupees was the denomination of note available, and this criminal was asking for a ransom of 300 crore rupees to be given to him in cash. Okay. And then they showed that this family to whom he had asked for this ransom was transporting 3 big suitcases of money, obviously. 300 crores, 3 huge suitcases they were transporting. Now that set me thinking, what is 300 crores rupees? If you have to look at 300 crore rupees, let's now look at it from the perspective of 1000 rupees, okay? Now tell me, are you able to imagine what could be 300 crore rupees in terms of physically how big it should be or how much it should be? Are you able to imagine?
It's very much.
It's very much. But so what happens is, when we think about money beyond a certain number or beyond a certain value, our mind goes for a toss. We are not able to understand. We are not able to put a peg to it, right, in terms of what it is. Now let's look at what 300 crores can be, okay? Okay. Now, what is the maximum denomination of note that was available at that point of time in 2005 or 6? 1000 rupees, right? Now 1000 rupees, so in one bundle, how many notes are there generally? Of 100 notes, right? So, एक bundle में how much money will be there?
1 lakh.
1 lakh? See, now I'm talking about number sensitivity, okay? Okay, and I'm trying to look at it from a physical perspective, because this set me thinking. 1 lakh? Okay. Now in 1 crore, how many such bundles are required? How many lakhs is 1 crore?
100 lakhs.
100 lakhs. So how many bundles are required? 100 such bundles are required. Now imagine 1 crore is 100 such bundles, okay? Bundle you can imagine, right? A rectangular one, this thing, 100 bundles like this are required. Now in 300 crores now, how many bundles are required?
100 bundles.
So 300 crores mein kitna bundles?
100
Like 3 lakh.
300 into 100?
3 lakhs.
No, 300
30,000, sorry.
30,000 bundles.
30,000.
So 30,000 bundles are what we are talking about actually. Okay? Now try to imagine. 30,000 bundles is what we are talking about of 1000 rupee notes would make it 300 crores. Okay. Now imagine in a big suitcase that you have at home, how many bundles will come in one suitcase? Think about it. Imagine. Kitna pichega hai? How many can you put and make it one suitcase actually? 500? 500? Not more than that? So one suitcase will be 500. How many bundles are we talking about?
30,000.
So how many suitcases will be required?
30,000 divided
By 500? That means 60 suitcases. So when we talk about 300 crore rupees, we are talking about 60 such suitcases, and how many they were transporting?
Only
3. That means no one gave a thought to it, right? Now that is not important. What is this isn't this an interesting example? Don't you find this interesting? Now the moment you think about 300 crores, first physically, even if you have to understand, you're talking about 60 suitcases, big suitcases is equivalent to 300 crores. Okay. Now think about it. 300 crores, we are talking about 60 suitcases, right? Now the physicality of it was not coming to our mind. Now think about a company's turnover. Suppose someone tells you the turnover of the company is 3,000 crores. Okay, now a CEO or some company like Tata Consultancy Services would have a turnover of say 100,000 crores. Now when you're talking about 100,000 crores, we are talking about 300 times the 300 crores. Okay, now if we are not able to make sense of what 300 crores is physically, now when you talk about a country's GDP, gross domestic product, we talk about 2 trillion or 3 trillion US dollars. How much is 1 trillion? Is 1,000 billion. I'm just trying to do the quick calculation for you to tell you that if we can't make sense of 300 crores, how is the head of a country or the finance minister or the people working with them are going to make sense of all the numbers that we're talking about and what kind of value it is going to add to people? You get my point? Therefore, this question of learning also has got to do with how sensitive you are. Not only for numbers, how sensitive you are in terms of understanding what would a 10 crore rupee do to Bijal vis-a-vis what would a 10 crore do to an economy. What would 100 rupees do to a person, to a child who's on the street in terms of buying him or her food, the child food, vis-a-vis what would 100 rupee do to you in terms of maybe buying a couple of bottles of cold drinks? Is the value same? The value is not same, right? For that child, that 100 rupees can mean the child's life.
The whole day meal.
Yeah. So first comes the sensitivity part, and then comes the value part, right? So that is why they say when it comes to learning, we talk about 3 aspects are very important to learning. One is learning is all about building of character. Number 2, it is about broadening of your vision. And the third part is deepening of feeling. If any of these are not there, if the person understands numbers, but the feeling is not there, the person will not understand the value that I'm talking about. Right? Would you understand the value? Say 100 rupees. Okay, just throw the money and say, okay, let the child do whatever the child wants. Now what I'm saying is, one is understanding what numbers are, then understanding what is the sensitivity behind those numbers, okay, and then to understand what kind of value the same numbers or money can add in different contexts. Okay, so this is only one aspect of learning that we are talking about. So when you are learning in life, there are so many other aspects, right? They say that a child, from the time the child is born till the age of 1 year, when the child starts standing and starts walking, it is equivalent to 30 years of what we learn after in the next 29 years. Okay, so if the child, without knowing anything, without knowing about all these concepts, can learn so much, that means what are we saying? That whatever we need to learn is already there within us. Is anyone telling the child that is the child going to the school from 0 to 1 years? No, it's just observing and learning, right? So, and if that can be 30 times of what we learned during our schooling days, the equivalence of learning, if you look at it, from sleeping to the point so hence I just wanted to introduce to you this topic of how things could be learned. What is the whole idea of this concept of learning to learn? I just want to introduce you to these topics today. Okay? Did you find it interesting?
Yes.
Very interesting.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot. And so we'll catch up some other time and
Yeah.
discuss this.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much.